Popoff here. Welcome back to the Contrarians. This is another edition of our little wee sub-Contrarian show called Reliving Old Reviews is a Useless Tool of Confusion. This is actually going to be the very first episode we've done that is a part 2 episode, which is perfectly fine. The idea here is that, a lot of these classic albums that we're going to look at a period review of obviously got reviewed more than once. As these come up, if the album is super important, definitely for sure, we're going to look at another review and see if a different reviewer got the story right with this classic album, could figure out that there's something super important here. So this episode is looking at Sad Wings of Destiny. We already had a review of Sad Wings of Destiny, a review of Sad Wings of Destiny. You can check that out. That was the Rolling Stone review. That was one of the first episodes we ever did. So here's another one on Sad Wings of Destiny. And the nice thing here is that a listener, a viewer, Chris Jackson, so thank you for this, Chris, posted this at our at actually the History in 5 Songs Facebook page and put the review here. So this is one I can read because he posted a review here. So we are going to review Jeff Barton's review of Sad Wings of Destiny. Now, Jeff Barton is one of the most esteemed, critics of our entire heavy metal genre, of rock journalism, an absolute titan of the business over from the UK. So this is really cool. And I haven't read this for a lot of years. And this is the first time. So I'm just going live with this. This could be almost like a reaction review of what Jeff had to say about Sad Wings of Destiny. So you're getting, one of the key heavy metal critics of all time coming in with this super monumental album from 1976. So let's see what he thought of this thing. Okay, so he says, don't you believe what the others may say? The 5-piece Birmingham band Judas Priest are emerging as one of the country's foremost up-and-coming heavy rock bands, and who knows, in a few years, may even be up there alongside Black Sabbath. So at this point, we know Black Sabbath is 6 records into their, demise with Ozzy, and then they're going to move on to Ronnie James Dio. But Sabbath at this point, Technical Ecstasy, post-Sabotage. And, this is a great start because basically, who else can you compare Judas Priest to? He hits the exact comparison on the nose. And to say up there alongside Black Sabbath, they're going to basically be completely surpassing Black Sabbath for most of the whole rest of the run here as they're moving on here. Okay, then he says, certainly the group have the style of the Sab-like stomper off to a T, and at the same time, dare I say, try for some greater variation. Definitely. They frequently fall down, however, some of the tracks here being a little too adventurous, overblown, and histrionic. Vocalist Rob Halford uses his voice range indiscriminately, which leads to some embarrassing moments, and the lyrics to several of the songs are rather hackneyed. So he's finding, I don't think there's anything on here that isn't absolutely great, Rob Halford, but you can tell Jeff Barton is a little bit thrown off by this new kind of vocal that we're getting, right? We're getting this really high, thin, operatic vocal, unceasing, unrelentingly operatic. And he's a little thrown off by it, like thinking, whoa, this is almost too much. Lyrics being hackneyed, I think I don't believe that as at all here either. I always talk about this album as being timeless, as in it could have been written in medieval times. There's literally the newest reference on this album is to Jack the Ripper, which is like 100 and something years ago, right? 150, 140, 30 years ago, a long time ago anyway. But the rest of it is very timeless. And finding the tracks too adventurous. So it's like his antenna are going off that there's some heavy metal here that's being played that is wildly better than all heavy metal, to date sort of thing. My story on this album. I think Sad Wings of Destiny doesn't do anything new in heavy metal. It just does everything better in heavy metal than almost everything that's happened all the way back to the beginning in 1970, right? That's my idea. Okay, so then he says, in the quieter part of Victim of Changes, for example, a vocal duet occurs. Once she was beautiful, once she was mine, Halford sings, backed up by an intolerably high harmony. That proves my point. And for Ripper, the band seemed to be trying to follow the story of the London Strangler too accurately. They end up becoming bombastic with the lyrics at odds with the essentially simplistic music. So I find Ripper very complicated for how long it is, and very complicated compared to most metal, especially compared to almost all American metal, even at this point now that America has a scene with the likes of Aerosmith, Ted Nugent, Kiss, Blue Oyster Cult, Heart, Mahogany Rush, whatever you want to say. But yeah, it's definitely not simplistic. So I find that to be an odd comment. And then we're getting more references to the vocals here. And then he says, but despite these faults, Sad Wings of Destiny is spiced with dramatics and laced with a genuine enthusiasm. There's some solid guitar work and several cranking riffs to which it wouldn't be out of place to flash a few peace signs. Odd reference to, I guess it's a reference to Black Sabbath, right? So it's kind of a sly, interesting reference to Black Sabbath. But the fact of the matter is, on this record, I mean, there are a lot of incredible riffs here. I mean, he just says several cranking riffs. But the big thing about this album, and I remember getting this as a new release, it's like there are literally like 15 or 20 riffs here that are better than any riff Ritchie Blackmore has ever come up with, or Tony Iommi. That's kind of how we felt as kids, right? 13 years old. Then he goes, this is the band's second album, infinitely better than the first, Rockarola. It's got a dash in Rockarola. There's nonetheless room for much improvement. If the third LP has a punchier production and the songs maintain some sort of medium between the basic and pretentious, Judas Priest will undoubtedly become a top-notch band. So he's getting that right. He knows Judas Priest is going to become a top-notch band. Was the production punchier on Sin After Sin? It was definitely thinner and lighter. It's a very extreme production. I think all things considered, this is a better produced album than Sin After Sin, because that is radically thin. But he gets it right that it's a big improvement over Rockarola, but I think Rockarola is in the same wheelhouse as this album. I often said that. I often called it like a demo version of Sad Wings, slightly less good ideas, slightly less good production, slightly less good playing, but it's kind of in the same wheelhouse. So there you go, Jeff Barton, pretty cool. Getting Jeff in here, a historical, a titan of this business. Right there on the ground floor with this absolutely landmark album, and generally gets it right, but it's not over the top enough for me. I mean, I thought, a guy this smart about metal would be like running, turning cartwheels over this album, but he's not really, right? So kind of interesting there too as well. So there you go. Another edition of Reliving Old Reviews is a useless tool of confusion. By the way, I still have my Judas Priest books, the whole story of the band. So Decade of Domination, early years, you get young Rob Halford. Then you get old Rob Halford, Turbo till now. Unfortunately, the now does not include the new album. It goes all the way up to Firepower. And I've still got this big monster here, Judas Priest, a visual biography with a great Rudy Childs picture on the front. Very cool. This is basically, full color throughout, hardcover, detailed timeline. So both of those are still, or all three of those are still available through martinpopoff.com for signing, sending, PayPal buttons, all that stuff. All right. Talk to you later. This has been another Reliving Old Reviews is a useless tool of confusion.